Hear that? All right, you hear that? Rain. It's going to cool things off just a little bit. Unexpected, actually. Did not think it was going to rain today, and then all of a sudden it did. And, well, what can you do except stay inside? Friday, July 22nd, 2022. I'm Steven Sersky, and this here is my audio blog, and I'm actually trying to live stream this at the same time. So we'll see how this goes, whether it works out or if it needs a little bit more work going forward. Yeah, it hasn't been too bad as of late. The weather's been okay. Today it was cloudy all day. I thought it was actually more smoggy than anything else, but apparently it was just preparing to rain, and so now we have rain. I think it's going to actually clear up for the weekend. Yeah, tomorrow clear, so that's all. It seems it's a one-off tonight. Monday, Tuesday, all next week is going to be cloudy, and then Sunday, July 31st until like the whole first week of August is supposed to be just raining. Great. I guess it's either hot and humid or hot and rainy. Take your pick, but you're not getting cool anytime soon, I'll tell you. It was actually quite difficult to get going this morning because of, I don't know if it was the heat or whatever. I slept pretty well, but the whole, I did not do my, I want to say it's the half Murph. It's not the half Murph. It's actually a quarter Murph. I was thinking about this number. I was like, wait a minute, I don't even do half. I do literally a quarter of what you're supposed to do for the CrossFit Murph, which is this challenge that the CrossFit people do. I usually do it on a Friday morning. That's my designated Murph day. But today I woke up and was like, nope, I don't think this is going to work today. So instead, I went for an hour-long bicycle ride. And then after that, I came back. I'm like, you know what? Let's try to go for a run. So I went for a 1 mile run. Boy, that was stiff. Triathlete, I am not. Triathlons, like the Olympic one is what, 1,500 meter swim, 40-kilometer bike, and a 20-kilometer run. There are other ones, like the Ironman triathlon is like, I think, double of whatever the standard triathlon is. Could I do a triathlon? Not sure. Not sure if I'd want to. It seems like a long time. Like the best times are like in like 3 hours, 4 hours sort of thing. And I'm sitting there going, I mean, an hour for me to cycle 10 miles, which is what, 16 kilometers? That's quite a bit. I'm not sure if I'm prepared just yet to do that sort of, to have that sort of challenge. And I don't know. We'll just stick with what I've got going on right now, running 4 miles a day, Shabadul a little bit. And then from that, maybe work up, even going to like anything more than 2 miles. Like 2 miles, it takes me 20 minutes. So it's a nice warm up, and that's what I use it for. If I start going 2.5 miles or 3 miles, then it starts taking up more time. And since it's just cardio and it's just a warm up, I mean, I do want to get into the rest of my workout rather than just running all the time now. I mean, some people would just say, well, run faster, get it done faster. There's something to be said about that. And possibly is something that I can work on going forward. So if it works, I mean, if I can make it work, then great. If not, then we'll just do the 2 miles morning, afternoon with the weights thrown in there as well. I did since this morning I didn't do any weights, but in the afternoon I did, and I ended up ripping off one of my calluses, and that kind of hurt. So now, I stopped as it. Thankfully, it happened towards the end of my workout, and I know some people will be like, yeah, keep going, tape it up, get some tape, and keep on going. I'm like, you know what? First of all, I didn't have any tape. I used to have this medical tape, this white tape it's like a cloth tape, and I'm not sure who I gave it to, but it's gone now. I can't find it around my apartment, so that stuff is good because it doesn't stick to your skin as much. I remember using that when I was doing Thai boxing and stuff like that. It was just a lot easier to tape up, hairy limbs without ripping off too much skin or too much hair in the process. But with that being said, the yeah, ripped off callus. I don't think it's not a major. It's very small minor injury. It just meant that I had to stop my kettlebells. I tried to keep on going, but I'm like, if I just rip this thing open, it's going to make this things work. And you know what? Going into the weekend, what if we just took some time off and just let it heal, and then hopefully by Monday, good to go for the Steel Club workout. Drugs. Drugs are good. Drugs are bad. No, some are good. Some are bad. Ask your mom. Ask your dad. You remember that conversation or that commercial? I'm not sure if you Brits had that, but us Canadians grew up with this sort of commercial that was drugs. Some are good. Some are bad. Ask your mom. Ask your dad. Stuck with me my entire life. And the other thing about drugs I remember in my youth is what was that movie with Alf? It was like a superstar lineup of all your animated characters, and it was like an anti-drug campaign basically. I don't remember what it was called, but it was a big movie, and I remember like the hallucinogenic trips that they went on or something. It was really gross. Like they really painted a very kind of bad picture of the of what it's like to take drugs or to be on drugs. Now the I think that's what Beavis and Butthead then made fun of later on, like 10 years later, like towards when I was going to high school and stuff like that. But the reason I bring it up, it actually came up in conversation recently, doing drugs like that, because there are people who talk about it, and in my travels, I've met people who are on them or want to do them or travel to these places to do them. In China, they're illegal. You can't do any drugs. And for the record, like the people who get caught and executed, those are the ones that are like dealing in like lots of it, and usually have been doing it for a very long time. And finally, the authorities are like, okay, time to bring them in, sort of thing, and cut their head off. But this new documentary came out on Netflix, and it's by Michael Pollan. He was on Joe Rogan, and the reason I want to take a look at it because when he was on Joe Rogan, he talked about going off of coffee for 3 months. It was some experiment that he did that he was like, all right, well, I'm going to, I think it was 90 days, 3 months or so. He's like, no more coffee, no more caffeine. So it was, I don't think he even drank green tea. I think it was like just strictly no caffeine at all. But after 3 months, when he got back on coffee, he was just like, it was such euphoria. And he goes on about this history of like how the Western world became ever so much more productive when it was introduced to the coffee bean. And the coffee bean was discovered sometime around 8th or 9th century AD, someplace in Ethiopia or wherever. Ethiopia is a tradition. Squeeze more work out of you. And so you get 2 coffee breaks these days, 15 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes or whatever, 15 and 20 minutes in the afternoon, right? And that's what happens is that, I mean, a lot of guys, a lot of people I know go get another coffee in the morning. I mean, some people I know drink a lot of coffee. Some people have like 1 cup, and they always get like the Bien Li Fung coffee, and they go, oh yeah, it all tastes the same. I'm like, you, sir, obviously don't actually taste what you're drinking. Like, I would rather just have 1 nice coffee in the day rather than drink 2 or 3 pails of that machine stuff. It's Lavazza, typically. They use Lavazza in Bien Li Fung. But they're old beans. They're never fresh beans. They're very old. Yeah, no wonder they have to add milk and sugar to it. It's like, well, you're drinking tar. So anyway, so this documentary, which is on Netflix now, goes through, there's actually 4 different drugs he talks about. It's shrooms, pot, MDMA, and there's one other, I think, ergo. And I'm not sure what that is actually. So it's interesting, though. He talks about specifically how these drugs have been very prominent in indigenous cultures throughout history. Like they're documented throughout time, and a lot of people have used them. A lot of cultures have used them, like in Mexico as well. So he talks about Mexico and psilocybin. I can't remember, mushrooms, basically, and how it's used to sort of enable people to reach another plane of existence and understanding of life. Just given these drugs, instead of going antidepressants and these other drugs, they opt for using these alternatives under doctor supervision, and they talk about how it's sort of changed their life and their whole understanding of the universe, and how they're existence within the universe is much different. And I kind of think of this, and like I've heard of this. I know that Indonesia is a big place where people go. Bangkok is also one place. Like Thailand, parts of Thailand, I should say. There's also what's it? Something with cannibals. The Sex Lives of Cannibals. This is a funny book where this guy, the author, goes to Kiribati, an island in the South Pacific, just north of Australia, and he has kava. And his description of him on kava is fucking hilarious. I mean, you do have to read it. But another one of those drugs where it's the drug where they put it into a sock and young boys suck it out and then they spit it into a bowl and that's what you drink. And you're going, really? Really? Sex Life of Cannibals. What Martin R. Troost, Van Martin Troost. I can't remember his full name, but very famous book. Sex Life of Cannibals is what it is. There's another one he writes. He has another book about coming to China as well, which I didn't think was as good. But that's the book where I learned that the KFC at the corner of Tiananmen Square, like on the southwestern corner of Tiananmen Square, is like the largest one in the world or something like that, and it was the first one in China. So, well, facts. With these drugs, what about alcohol, caffeine, and tobacco? Specifically tobacco and alcohol. Like, tobacco is very common. And Michael Pollan, he does actually this alcohol. You know, what sort of drugs they're on. LSD was very popular back in the 70s. I mean, that's Led Zeppelin, that's Jimi Hendrix, that's all of these people that are like classics, the big wigs in the rock and roll industry, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, lots of them on all sorts of drugs. I was never sort of swayed that way. It never made sense to me to go down that way. So maybe that's why I'm not known as being a musician. But why is it that so many musicians do take part of it? I think with that, it's more about not so much that musicians take drugs or that there's some sort of inherent connection between them. It's more that the people who are likely to succeed or the people who are more likely to be musicians and have a life as a musician are the ones who are also willing to take the risk of, consuming various substances, being experimental. And that you can see that in a lot of music, wherein it's people will take risks with their instrument. They'll take risks being like getting out of the strictures of the whatever their musical genre is, and so that would sort of that type of person who does that, and especially someone who's paid as a musician, might be one to also take part in taking drugs and shit like that. So yeah, why isn't it more mainstream? No idea, especially given the cultural embrace of these throughout history. Good question. I'm only halfway through the documentary. I think I'm on episode number 3. There's 4 episodes for this documentary, and I'm on number 3, and maybe I'll finish it tonight. I'm not entirely sure. Getting away from drugs. Back to Chinese. HSK5 book finally done. The first one I did. So I finished chapter 18 and I did the workbook test and I failed miserably again. And one of the reasons is because I got fed up. And the reason I got fed up was because I was falling asleep. I was trying to read this thing and I was going, what is this saying? And I guess, part of it is because it's so, maybe it's just so over my head. Maybe I've hit a level. Maybe I've capped myself with my Chinese. Maybe there is no more gains to be made in Chinese. I know it's terrible to say, but what if, right? What if that it's done, it's over, and that maybe I just know as much as Chinese as that I'm going to possibly learn in this lifetime, regardless of the caffeine or the alcohol that I take. But it's not. Who knows? Maybe my brain's saying, "Nah, we're done. You've tried. You're good. You've done. You've taken the test. You can talk that up. Talk that point up for years to come. It'll be a good party story. But now, sit back down and join the rest of the workers. Right? Get back to work there. But yeah, I don't know. So I finished the first book. I will start doing the second book hopefully next week. Although apparently I work next week, so it's going to be a bit of a an issue. And then, yeah, I never did do my characters, which is very important. I found like I really do got to hit up those characters. I realize now that I used to do these characters while I was walking. I think I mentioned this before, while I was walking in the morning. But now that I'm running, I don't review my characters as much. So it's a bit of an issue in terms of having that schedule, that routine within which I am actually reviewing the characters at the HSK 5 level. I will have to make this work. It's got to work. I got to do it. The one thing I was looking at was the Radicals today, and I was using this reading and writing Chinese book by, who's this guy? William McNaughton, revised by Jiagung Fan. And this one is actually one of the first books I bought on the Chinese language that I would, so I remember taking this with me or copying out portions of it on little hotel notepads. I have a whole bunch of hotel notepads from around the country with the different characters that I was writing out, that I was studying for that day. And each day I would take a new sheet of characters to study, and they were all taken from this book. And this book covers about 1,500 characters, 1,725 characters. So that's okay. That's HSK 4 basically. Yeah. Not bad. Maybe HSK 5, somewhere around there between that. And other than that, I mean, it's although I do want to keep on plugging away at this. I mean, I am not going to lie. I am feeling a little bit frustrated that I seem to be doing so horribly in these workbook mock tests. Practice reading, practice character. I will hopefully by October be able to get some sort of semblance of understanding going so I can score higher on my next go around the HSK 5 test. Now, I'll tell you, if I'm not doing well in my HSK test, my mock tests by October, I will push the date off. There's no point in forcing this through. And I certainly don't want to be that guy who's like, oh, how many times has he taken the test? No, I'm going to try to avoid that, like, and come up with, you know, a bit better of a study habit if I have to conquer this test. But you know, 3 more weeks and I'll have my test scores from last week's test. And after that, I'll be able to sort of work out just how much, not that I really need to work out how much, I need to work on the characters. Game, set, match. Work on that, Steven. Stop talking about all the other things that you're going to do. Just work on that. Do that. There, I'm lecturing myself. Just go do the characters and study them, and you'll be a lot better off. All right. All right. With that, tomorrow, the weekend I have off, but I think tomorrow morning I'm going to try to hit the bike again and get out there for another little spin around. I'm thinking about doing time lapses of those too. I think it'd be kind of neat to take the GoPro or whatever and zip around for an hour, taking some, making some videos and stuff like that. Why not? Quick and dirty, quick and easy, and be a good memory of some of the bike rides I have. Because hopefully I won't always do the same bike ride, but I mean, if it's for workout purposes, I do like to have sort of a path to follow, so I know exactly how long it's going to take me, so I can time my day better. But maybe I have to find 3 or 4 different paths to take, right? All right, folks, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Show notes, tracks, and vids up on my website, stevensersky.com. Have a good weekend. Stay safe out there. And remember, drugs are good. Drugs are bad. Some are good. Some are bad. Ask your mom or ask your dad. Or better yet, do your research and don't do them in countries that will arrest you and well, put you in jail. Okay? With that, have a good weekend, folks. We'll talk again. Bye-bye.